Good morning. I recently went on a trip and decided to create a travel art journal. I'm an amateur sketcher artist, and I don't want to have a really fussy project, so I tried to keep this simple. This journal is not one trip specific. I still have plenty of blank pages at the end, so I did not specify that this was for my Florida trip. So I like this idea, starting with a map of the area. This is where we went, this is where we landed, and we ended up going out on the Gulf from the Crystal River. So I put down some places that I wanted to mark. I have a page saying why I wanted to go and a very helpful packing list, identifying what bags I want to bring. Once I knew my flights, I copied all the pertinent information here. I was able to photograph this page and give it to people who needed to know my itinerary. Likewise, the return bus, we had two choices depending on when we landed, and I wanted that information right where I could get at it. This is just mementos. I created these, before we left, I created these pockets and then stored my used tickets in it. The checklist was actually very helpful to me the morning we left. I was able to make sure everything was done. And these pockets, these were kind of interesting. This is where I started. This is the plane took out of this location. We landed here, and I wanted weather information, temperature, mostly so that I could be sure when we flew back from Florida to New England, we wouldn't be flying into a storm. The tides were very important for Wednesday's expedition. I did not know what my itinerary would be. I wrote it out in pencil and then wrote in the permanent ink and erased the pencil after the event. I like the idea of drawing my transportation vehicles. I had a couple, I painted and sketched from photographs from the trip and didn't really have anywhere else to put it. I had this blank space, so I put a pocket there, and that was a nice place to keep those photos, those sketches. Before I left, I created the travel bingo, mine and my husband's, and we worked, especially on the last 2 days, we worked hard to try to get a win. I put things that I knew we would be able to get, but also some very difficult things, and never did get my husband on a electric bike, so that was a challenge, but we both had winnage. That was fun. I think next time I might have him do mine and I would do his, but we'll see. That's travel bingo. At the airports, I like to sketch what's going on. After we get through TSA, we have quite a wait time at the gates. So I was able to sketch, and then later on, I used a booklet. I found this booklet at Hobby Lobby, which is full of these odd little excerpts. They seem to be from fiction, from literary sources, and started to have fun with that. I imagined what their conversations were and gave her a name. So that, I'd like to do that again. I generally wrote up the day the next morning, sketched anything that seemed to be, that would illustrate the story. I usually wrote it up the morning after, before we got going again, but sometimes I painted at the end of the day, sketched and painted at the end of the day. This is 2 events that happened that day. I think next time I would do it more space between the images, but it's part a sketch illustration and part journal. Just for fun, I'll show you something. Usually I worked off of photographs. Took a photograph and then took several photographs and decided what I wanted to paint. This was just a gorgeous sign that I had to paint. I'd like to do more of these overheard little conversations, things that I overheard in future. I don't really like to make a fussy project, so it's mostly painting and sketching from illustrations and journaling. There are other people who collect a lot more, who do junk journal concept where they have lots of pockets and lots of images. I didn't really want to do that. Here's my Spanish moss. This comes with a cute story. And at the end, I have a place for expenses. I noticed that I have another column available for my next journey. Receipts. This card is going to be very helpful for us to reserve a charter boat for next time. I never did use the 6-inch ruler, but I'm going to leave it in here. It only cost 99 cents. And then maps and brochures can stay in here, and I'll know where to find them for next time. This is a journey we're likely to do again because we're staying with my aunt and uncle. But this was my first time playing with a travel journal. I kind of like the idea. It was simple enough for me. I did have a collection of pockets that I could have glued in. I didn't like using glue. This worked best for me. It is a glued tape, and that seemed to hold things better than Elmer's glue or some other paper glue thing that I had used. I liked the idea of using stickers. It was fun to find connections that kind of expanded. Some of these words expanded my idea a little bit and made it more interesting. And that is the travel journal.